In the stillness of night, whispers echo where people no longer walk, where shadows remember what history forgot. These are the stories of the places where the veil thins. This is the truth behind the Haunting Podcast. Britain is a land steeped in blood, tragedy, and mystery. Its cobblestone streets, its castles, its ancient inns and tunnels. They do not simply hold history, they echo with it. For centuries, ordinary people, royalty, soldiers, and outcasts have left their mark here, and sometimes they never left at all. Here we step into the shadows of 5 of the most terrifying haunted locations in the United Kingdom. These places are not only sites of historic importance, they are theatres of unexplainable phenomena. Disembodied voices, ghostly apparitions, violent encounters, and chilling echoes of pain long past. Whether you are a believer or a skeptic, these stories will stay with you. They remind us that the past is never truly gone. It lingers, watching, waiting, and sometimes it reaches out to us. This is Haunted Britain. The Tower of London. A fortress, a palace, a prison, and for many, a tomb. For nearly 1,000 years, this formidable structure has dominated the banks of the River Thames. Built by William the Conqueror in 1078, its stone walls were meant to project power, to intimidate. But behind those walls lies one of the darkest chapters in English history. Executions, betrayals, torture, and imprisonment have stained this fortress with blood. The tower is one of the most haunted places in the world, and with its history, it is no wonder. Among the tower's most famous spirits is Anne Boleyn, the second wife of King Henry VIII. In 1536, accused of adultery, incest, and treason, she was condemned to death. Historians widely believe the charges were false, a political execution to clear the way for Henry's next marriage. Anne faced the axe with courage. On the morning of May 19th, she walked to the scaffold in a grey gown, her ladies in waiting weeping behind her. With one swift stroke, the executioner severed her head. But some say Anne never truly left. Witnesses across centuries have reported seeing her spirit wandering the tower. Most often, she is seen near the Chapel Royal of St. Peter ad Vincula, where her remains are buried beneath the floor. She appears in a spectral white gown, her head clasped under her arm. Guards, historians, even tourists have told of her ghostly figure, silent and sorrowful. They say her presence carries a chill, a silence that falls unnaturally, as though the tower itself is holding its breath. Another haunting connected to the tower is that of 2 children, Edward V and his younger brother Richard, known as the Princes in the Tower. In 1483, the boys were placed here for safekeeping by their uncle Richard, Duke of Gloucester. They were never seen again. Many believe Richard had them murdered to secure his claim to the throne. Their bodies were never conclusively identified. Since then, stories abound of childlike figures seen in the bloody tower, where they were held. Guards have reported hearing soft, sorrowful sobbing echoing through the night. Tourists speak of strange cold draughts, small shadows darting past them, and once, a yeoman warder claimed he saw 2 ghostly figures huddled together in their nightclothes, who disappeared when he approached. The tower is not home to just 1 or 2 restless spirits. There is the White Lady, a figure often reported waving from a window of the White Tower, a handkerchief in her grasp. Soldiers patrolling the grounds have saluted her, believing her to be a real woman, only to watch her vanish into thin air. Then there are tales of strange animals, most famously the phantom bear. In the 1800s, a guard claimed to see a great bear emerging from the Martin Tower. He lunged with his bayonet, but the weapon passed straight through the creature. Terrified, the guard collapsed and later died of shock. Even in modern times, reports continue. The yeoman warders, the beefeaters, who live and work within the tower, admit that strange things happen here. Footsteps echoing down empty corridors, sudden drops in temperature, a sense of being watched from the shadows. For centuries the tower has stood as a symbol of power, but beneath that symbol lies a darker truth, that places soaked in blood may never find peace. The Tower of London remains a fortress of ghosts. Pendle Hill, a vast, brooding landmark that rises above the Lancashire countryside. Beautiful to look at, yet unnerving in its isolation. But this hill is known for more than its dramatic views. It carries with it a history drenched in fear, suspicion, and death. For the people of Lancashire, Pendle Hill will forever be tied to one of the most infamous witch trials in English history, and to this day it is said to be haunted by the restless spirits of those who met their fate here. In the year 1612, during the reign of King James I, hysteria around witchcraft was spreading across England. The king himself was fascinated and terrified by the idea of witches, even writing a book on the subject, Demonology. That same year, 12 people from the Pendle area were accused of practicing witchcraft. Their names included Demdike, Device, and Chattox, families who had long been at odds with each other, living on the fringes of society. They were accused of cursing cattle, casting spells to cause sickness, and even murder. Much of the evidence came from a 9-year-old girl, Janet Device, who testified against her own mother, brother, and sister. 10 of the accused were found guilty and hanged in Lancaster. Only one was found not guilty, and another died in prison before the trial concluded. It was a grim spectacle, and yet it was just the beginning of Pendle Hill's dark legacy. Locals believed that the condemned witches, with their final breaths, cursed the land itself. They swore vengeance on the descendants of those who judged them, on the people who betrayed them, and on anyone who dared disturb their resting place. Stories soon spread of strange deaths, sudden illnesses, and unexplained accidents among families tied to the trials. And as the centuries passed, Pendle Hill became a place of dread, a cursed landscape where the veil between worlds is said to be dangerously thin. Today, Pendle Hill is a place where history and the supernatural collide. Visitors report seeing dark, shadowy figures moving silently across the slopes, vanishing when approached. Others hear whispers in the wind, voices calling their names though no one is near. Paranormal investigators speak of sudden cold spots, the feeling of unseen hands touching them, or stones being thrown from the darkness. Dogs refuse to walk certain paths, cameras malfunction, batteries drain without explanation. One of the most chilling accounts describes the apparition of an old woman in ragged clothing, her face twisted in rage, her eyes blazing. Many believe this is the spirit of old Demdike, the matriarch of one of the accused families, returning to remind the living of the injustice she suffered. At the heart of Pendle's legend lies Malkin Tower, a cottage that once stood here, home to the Device family. It was at this very place that many of the accused witches were said to have gathered, planning curses and dark rituals. Though the tower itself is long gone, its foundations still draw paranormal investigators. Those who dare to spend time here after dark report unearthly screams, the sound of footsteps circling them, and shapes moving in the corner of their vision. One team of ghost hunters described hearing the voice of a young child calling out, "Let me in," only to discover they were entirely alone. Others claimed to have seen ghostly faces staring at them through the trees, watching from the shadows. In recent years, Pendle Hill has become one of the most investigated paranormal hotspots in Britain. Ghost tours are held regularly, drawing those fascinated by its dark reputation. EVP recordings, electronic voice phenomena, are frequently captured. In one chilling example, a group recorded what seemed to be the faint, desperate plea of a woman whispering, "Help me." Another captured a voice declaring, "I am here." Skeptics argue these are coincidences, tricks of the wind, or even suggestion planted in the minds of those who expect to experience fear. But believers point to the sheer number of accounts, the consistency of the voices, and the physical phenomena. scratches appearing on skin, sudden feelings of being suffocated, as proof that Pendle Hill is truly cursed. For the people of Lancashire, Pendle Hill is more than a story. It is a reminder of a time when fear and superstition ruled, when a child's testimony could condemn an entire family to death, when suspicion was enough to hang. But perhaps the most haunting part of the Pendle story is not the trial itself, but the way its echoes linger. In every chill breeze, in every shadow on the hillside, in every whisper caught on tape, the past reaches out, refusing to be forgotten. 400 years on, the witches of Pendle may still walk the hill, and those who visit often leave believing they too have been marked by the curse. In the quiet market town of Watton-under-Edge stands a building with a reputation that sends chills down the spine of even the most hardened ghost hunters. The ancient Ram Inn. Dating back to 1145, this inn has been called one of the most haunted places in Britain, a location steeped in stories of dark rituals, restless spirits, and violent encounters with forces that some claim are not merely human. The Ram was originally built to house stonemasons working on the nearby St. Mary's Church. But legend has it the land it stands upon was already cursed. Some say it was once a pagan burial ground, a site of human sacrifice. Others point to the ley lines, invisible energy paths said to crisscross the earth, which intersect here, making the ground a natural focus for spiritual activity. Whatever the truth, from the very beginning, the ancient Ram Inn was marked as a place where the natural and supernatural collide. The most infamous area of the inn is the bishop's room. It is said to be so haunted that even seasoned investigators refuse to spend the night inside. Guests report seeing monks in hooded robes standing silently in the corners, vanishing when approached. Others describe being violently pushed or waking in the night to see spectral figures looming above their beds. One chilling tale tells of a woman who entered the room only to be overwhelmed by the sensation of being strangled by unseen hands. She fled in terror, swearing never to return. The bishop's room has also been linked to tales of ritual sacrifice and even demonic apparitions. For many, it is considered the epicenter of the Ram's dark energy. Perhaps the most disturbing claims connected to the ancient Ram Inn involve children. During renovations, bones were allegedly discovered beneath the floorboards, the remains of children thought to have been sacrificed during pagan rituals. Visitors to the inn often speak of hearing the cries of children echoing through the halls, or feeling small icy hands clutch at their clothing. Some report toys moving on their own, rolling across the floor as though guided by invisible playmates. In the depths of the inn lies its cellar, a place of shadows and whispers. It is here that many believe satanic rituals were once carried out. Visitors claim to have seen hooded figures moving in the darkness, while others have heard deep growling sounds with no earthly source. Investigators who have dared to spend time here describe feelings of overwhelming dread, nausea, and the sudden compulsion to leave. One group reported seeing a figure materialize in the corner of the cellar, only for it to vanish into the stone wall. Unlike many haunted locations, the ancient Ram Inn is not content with subtle signs. The spirits here are said to be aggressive, even violent. Guests have reported being dragged from their beds, scratched by unseen claws, or pinned down by a crushing force. Some leave with bruises, marks across their skin, or memories so terrifying they refuse to speak of them again. One paranormal investigator recalled waking to find themselves lifted several inches off the bed before being hurled onto the floor. Another claimed to hear guttural voices chanting in an unknown tongue, growing louder until they fled the building. The inn's former owner, John Humphreys, lived here for decades and endured countless terrifying encounters. He spoke of being thrown from his bed, finding demonic symbols carved into the wood, and discovering evidence of rituals beneath the floor. Visitors on ghost tours describe sudden icy blasts, lights flickering, and the distinct feeling of being watched. Some enter skeptics, only to leave believers, pale, shaken, and unwilling to ever step foot inside again. Many believe the ancient Ram Inn is not just haunted, but cursed. They claim it sits atop a gateway, a thin place where the veil between our world and something darker has worn dangerously thin. Is it truly a portal to the other side? A place where rituals, sacrifice, and centuries of fear have left a permanent scar on the land? Or is it simply the weight of history, magnified by imagination and suggestion? One thing is certain: few who enter the ancient Ram Inn leave unchanged. Some leave shaken, others leave scarred, but all leave with the same chilling certainty that they have stood in the presence of something beyond our understanding. Northumberland is home to one of the most striking fortresses in Britain, Chillingham Castle. From the outside, it looks like a place frozen in time: thick stone walls, grand towers, and sweeping grounds. But behind its formidable exterior lies a reputation darker than any fairy tale. Chillingham is often described as the most haunted castle in Britain. With a history filled with war, imprisonment, and brutal torture, it is no surprise that so many restless spirits are said to stalk its halls. Chillingham's story begins in the 12th century, when it served as a stronghold during centuries of conflict between England and Scotland. Positioned near the border, it was both a military base and a site of unimaginable suffering. Captured prisoners were brought here. Many never left alive. Its dungeons, its walls, even its courtyards absorbed the cries of those who met their end in its shadow. Perhaps the most famous of Chillingham's ghosts is known as the Blue Boy. For centuries, castle guests reported hearing the agonized cries of a child echoing through the stone walls at night. Some claimed to see a strange blue light shimmering in the darkness, often near the Pink Room, where noble visitors once stayed. The legend gained a chilling twist during renovations in the early 20th century. Workers discovered the bones of a child, along with fragments of blue cloth, sealed behind a wall. Was this the Blue Boy, trapped within the castle itself, his spirit crying out for release? To this day, visitors swear they feel a presence in the Pink Room. Some say they awaken in the night to hear whispers or see a flickering blue glow dancing across the walls. Another spirit said to haunt Chillingham is Lady Mary Berkeley. Mary lived here in the 17th century. Her husband, Lord Grey, abandoned her, running away with her own sister. Left alone with her young child, Lady Mary wandered the castle in grief and despair. It is said her ghost still roams these halls, her silk gown rustling as she moves. Guests and staff often hear soft footsteps, accompanied by the faint sound of a woman sobbing. Some claim she appears at windows, gazing longingly across the grounds, still waiting for her lost love. Perhaps the darkest part of Chillingham Castle lies within its torture chamber. The devices on display are not replicas. They are authentic instruments of pain and death, used on countless prisoners over the centuries. The rack, the thumbscrews, the spiked chair, each carries the memory of screams long past. Visitors report overwhelming sensations of dread in this chamber. Some feel watched by unseen eyes. Others hear faint groans or screams, as though the stones themselves are replaying the agony they once absorbed. One modern visitor collapsed after entering the room, claiming to feel phantom hands pressing against their chest, suffocating them. Paranormal investigators say the chamber is charged with residual energy, echoes of pain that refuse to fade. Chillingham's hauntings are not limited to individuals. Guests often speak of phantom soldiers patrolling the grounds, echoes of the countless battles fought here. Shadows dart across walls where no one stands. Doors slam shut without explanation. One chilling report describes a spectral knight clad in armor who appeared before a startled visitor, only to vanish in an instant, leaving behind the faint sound of clashing steel. Today, Chillingham Castle embraces its haunted reputation. Ghost tours lead brave visitors through its darkest chambers, recounting centuries of chilling stories. Many leave convinced they have experienced something unexplainable. Guests describe sudden cold spots, the sensation of invisible hands touching their shoulders, or the eerie certainty of being followed down an empty corridor. One guest wrote of waking in the pink room to see a small glowing orb hover above their bed before disappearing into the stone wall. Another claimed to hear a woman's voice whispering directly into their ear, only to find the room completely empty. Chillingham Castle is more than stone and history. It is a place where past suffering refuses to fade, where tragedy lingers in every corridor. Whether you believe these hauntings are the work of restless souls, echoes of memory, or tricks of the mind, one truth remains. Those who step into Chillingham rarely leave untouched. It is a castle alive with ghosts, and perhaps one of the clearest reminders that history, once written in blood, never truly dies. Beneath the bustling streets of Edinburgh lies another world, a labyrinth of stone chambers and passageways, hidden for centuries beneath the arches of the South Bridge. These are the Edinburgh Vaults. Built in the late 18th century, they were meant to serve as storage rooms and workshops. But the vaults quickly became something darker, a place of crime, poverty, and death. Today they are one of the most infamous paranormal sites in Scotland. Tourists and investigators alike flock to them, seeking to experience the strange phenomena that countless witnesses have reported in these forgotten underground chambers. When the South Bridge was completed in 1788, it was celebrated as an engineering marvel. Beneath its 19 arches were built vaults, intended as storage for merchants and businesses above. But the vaults were damp, dark, and poorly sealed. Water seeped through the stone. The air was thick with mold. Within decades, the merchants abandoned them. Left empty, the vaults soon found new tenants, the poor, the desperate, and the criminal. Families crowded into the darkness, often 10 or more to a single room. There was no sanitation, no light, and no safety. As Edinburgh grew, the vaults became a slum, a hidden underworld where taverns operated illegally, thieves plotted, and the most vulnerable suffered and died. Conditions in the vaults were brutal. Disease spread quickly in the damp air. Many who lived here died of illness or starvation, their bodies buried in unmarked graves. There are whispers that murder was not uncommon. Victims lured into the vaults were robbed and never seen again. Some even link the vaults to Burke and Hare, Edinburgh's infamous body snatchers who murdered to sell corpses for medical dissection. While no evidence proves they used the vaults, the legends persist and only add to the darkness of this underground world. For over 100 years the vaults lay sealed and forgotten. In the 1980s they were rediscovered, and what was found shocked even seasoned historians. Discarded toys, cooking pots, and children's shoes lay scattered in the rubble. Evidence of lives lived in unimaginable hardship. But along with the artifacts came something else. Reports of strange activity. Workers spoke of cold gusts rushing through sealed rooms, of shadowy figures moving where no light reached, and of whispers carried on the still air. The vaults had awakened, and with them their restless inhabitants. Among the most infamous spirits of the vaults is a figure known only as the Watcher. Described as tall, imposing, and filled with hostility, the Watcher is said to stalk visitors from the darkness. Tour guides and tourists alike report the sensation of being followed, heavy footsteps echoing behind them, only to turn and find the corridor empty. Some describe seeing a looming shadow at the edge of the torchlight, a presence that radiates menace. Those who encounter the Watcher often leave the vaults shaken, convinced they were in the presence of something profoundly dangerous. The vaults are also said to be home to the spirits of children, innocent lives lost in the harsh conditions of poverty. Visitors often report the sound of laughter or crying in empty rooms. Some describe the unsettling sensation of a small hand tugging at their clothes. Others claim to have seen the pale figure of a young boy, standing silently in the darkness before vanishing without a sound. In one chilling account, a tourist felt her hand being held as she walked through a chamber. When she turned to see who it was, she found nothing, only the icy air of the vaults pressing in. Not all of the vault's hauntings are direct encounters. Many are what investigators call residual, echoes of the past imprinted on the environment. Tour guides speak of hearing phantom footsteps following behind their groups, only to find the rooms empty. Some visitors report the faint sound of music, laughter, or arguments, as if the vaults are replaying moments from their hidden history. Others describe sudden waves of emotion, despair, panic, or anger that wash over them without explanation, leaving them shaken long after leaving the underground chambers. Today, the Edinburgh Vaults are a magnet for ghost hunters. Paranormal groups from around the world descend into the tunnels, armed with cameras, recorders, and instruments. Electronic voice phenomena are commonly captured here. Faint voices calling names, whispers answering direct questions, even screams too loud to ignore. Many investigators report their equipment malfunctioning, batteries draining in minutes, cameras refusing to work in certain chambers, or strange interference on recordings. Skeptics argue it is damp air and faulty equipment. Believers see it as proof that the vaults are still very much alive with the energy of the dead. The Edinburgh Vaults remain one of the most terrifying and mysterious sites in Britain. They are a place where history, tragedy, and legend intertwine. For some, they are a fascinating glimpse into the city's hidden past. For others, they are a doorway, a place where the dead still walk among the living. And for those who have felt the icy grip of a child's hand, or seen the watcher looming in the shadows, the vaults are a reminder that beneath Edinburgh's beautiful streets lies something much darker, and it does not rest. These are just 5 of the countless haunted places that dot the British Isles. From castles to cottages, inns to underground tunnels, each one tells us the same chilling story. The past is never truly silent. The question is, are you brave enough to listen? Thanks for joining us on the Truth Behind the Haunting podcast. If you enjoyed our journey into the supernatural, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with fellow ghost seekers. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and stay aware of what moves in the shadows.